I am Curran Bhatia. I am speaking with heavyweight champion of the world, Deontay Wilder. Deontay, great to speak with you. And we know that you have a big fight coming up against Luis Ortiz, the rematch, of course. Now, in the past, I know you've said when you fight someone, they're never the same. And obviously, in your rematch against Stavern, you showed that. You knocked him out in the first round. So, with Ortiz, is it the same thing? You know, he's not going to be the same after you knocked him out last time. Does that mean you'll knock him out even sooner this time?
It's a possibility. I mean, it's a big possibility that can happen. You know, like I said before, and I stand by my statement, that no guy is the same after I hit them. You know, and I know that to be true. You know, with with my own eyes of seeing it, you know, unfold. So we're gonna see what happens. You know, one thing it's a couple of things he had going for him, but one thing for sure that he's a well-experienced fighter, and he should know what to do in certain situations. You know, and he's gonna be as good. He's gonna last as long as I allow him to last, especially when I hit him. Once I start hitting him and being accurate with my right hand on left hook, then it's gonna be a short night.
And we know that you survived the 7th round, of course, and then came back to knock him out in the 10th round. So I'm sure you're looking to capitalize on what you found there. So I wanted to ask you now. It's a tough question for me to ask, but you know we've had about 5 deaths this year in boxing, and I know that you've said in the past that you wanted a body on your record. I'm just curious, do you still feel that way after, you know, these tragedies in the sport?
I mean, you know, my mindset would never change. You know, I am who I am. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, of course, I always want all fighters to go back home, you know, after a competition, especially after we release our energies in the ring amongst each other. It's no greater feeling than two fighters, you know, putting our life on the line for others, and in the end, we are able to go back to our families. But it's also a mindset with like what you want to, you know, apply as much pain, you know, to your opponent as possible. And things happens, you know, and you know with the bronze bomber, you know, they trying to do the same thing to me, you know, and we all wish each other well at the end of the day. You know, we never want anything tragic to happen, but you know, the sport it brings a lot of things.
No, it certainly does, and I understand your viewpoint there. So I have to ask you, you're obviously going to be an interested observer come December when Anthony Joshua takes on Andy Ruiz in the rematch. I'd love to know what is your prediction of that rematch? How do you think that one's going to play out?
I think Ruiz is going to come out on top. You know, I really don't think, you know, Joshua understood how they lost. You know, Ruiz have so much going for him. You know, and even leading up into the second fight, he had a lot going for him in the first fight because of the disturbance and all the things that was going on, the rumors, and him having to have a sports psychologist, you know, him panicking before time to come out, and him getting dropped 4 times. Like that was a lot,
right?
And it's gonna be a lot to just really be able to focus and get all that negative garbage out of your mind, you know, and and then you got Ruiz, he coming, you know, like he didn't have nothing to lose because he didn't come with nothing. Now he have something to lose. I think that he knew, you know, when you defeat a champion, especially when you make him quit and give up, and that champion got to come back in and fight that same guy that made me quit, you're gonna be fighting your own demons. And if Ruiz execute all those logics that surrounds this fight, man, you know, he's gonna come out top easy. It's gonna be easier than he did the first time, you know. But it's an interesting fight, and you know we're gonna see what happens. I can say anything, you know. Joshua can overcome all that. It's totally up to him at the end of the day, and also, you know, it's gonna be important who the people he have around him to motivate him and keep him up. You know, at the end of the day, I think it's gonna be a great fight, and I wish those guys nothing but the best, both of them.
Right, and we'll see what adjustments Joshua is able to make, just like you said. Now, in that first fight that they had back in June, Obviously, you and Joshua had been going back and forth for a long time in terms of negotiations and trying to figure it out, and that was the fight everyone wanted to see. When you saw Ruiz knock out Joshua the first time and you were watching that, what was your immediate reaction to seeing that?
I mean, I was happy for Ruiz. You talk about a fighter that was getting evicted from his apartment. You know what I mean? You talking about a fighter that that was dealing with a lot at that moment in time. Going through the struggles in his career. And now he was being able to be blessed with the opportunity to get out of his contract, where his promoter held him up, and able to fight for a world title. Now that's a blessing. That's why he all blessings every time he talking and saying like 20 times every time. I mean, because it really is truly a blessing, to be damn near evicted, to be homeless on the streets. And so I was very happy for him. And then some words that he said, he looked in the camera and he said, "Mama, we don't have to struggle no more." And that really touched me as well, because I understand. I come from an environment of the struggle, and I was one that overcame different struggles in life where we can overcome. Some do and some don't. And, that really hit me, to be where I came from and where I am now, and that was really good.
And we know that you've overcome adversity as well, and now, of course, heavyweight champion of the world. Ruiz on the other end with the other 3 belts. So the head of Fox Sports came out recently and said they want to create a PBC belt. And he said, one day we could imagine Andy Ruiz versus Deontay Wilder for the PBC belt. Now, I know that you said you weren't interested in the WBC's franchise belt, right? You didn't want that. Now, would you be interested in the PBC belt?
Hey, man, that's, the PBC belt is of an interest. You know what I mean? I didn't like the franchise belt because of what it represented, not fighting mandatories and stuff like that. But we had to look further more into it, though, the PBC belt, what it offers and what is it talking about. One main thing that a lot of fighters would like about it is no sanctioning fees. That's a big thing in the sport. A lot of us, we look into how much money we have to give up in sanctioning fees, and we look at that money as, man, we can do so much with that money with our kids, because like you said, I know of 3 fighters that lost their lives this year. You said 5, but I only know 3. But just to talk about losing a life, man, I mean, if this, just think about the money that, like a champion, if he loses, like anybody fighting for a belt and defending that title, whatever we do, pass away, all that money is going to be needed towards the family, funeral, and all that different things and whatever, not to talk up something like it, but, just looking in theory of certain things, like, and if you don't have no sanctioning fees, a lot of people are going to be interested in that, because that's going to be something different, than all these organizations. A lot of people make belts so they can have more sanctioning fees and different things like that. And you get a belt that come in that don't have no sanctioning fees, and over time it can have the same sentimental value as the rest of them, then it's a no-brainer.
It is, and if they are able to work that out, we'll see what happens. It's obviously an interesting addition to what we have now. So I asked you about Joshua, I asked you about Ruiz, of course. I also have to ask you about Tyson Fury. I interviewed Jack Reiss recently, and he says he felt comfortable with his count, and I know that you've disagreed with that. At the same time, Tyson Fury, he's been doing a lot of things. He had a couple fights, and then he did a WWE fight. He's mentioned he wants to go into MMA, and that's a lot before your potential rematch, which could be early next year. So what would be your reaction to Jack Reiss, and also any message to Tyson Fury that you may have?
I mean, Jack Reiss explained it all. He said he went off with the spirit of boxing and not the rules. You know what I mean? And that's not fair to me. You got one job. Your job is to fucking count to 10, not delay. If you go back and look at that fight, the first time I knocked Fury down, he count fast. because he knew that he was going to get up. The second time, he was very hesitant, of counting very slow. What's supposed to be a 1 second count turned into 2 seconds with 1 count. 8, 9, all that theatrics and stuff like that, standing over him, he knew it was very slow, but everybody was emotional and going off of this story that he has of mental illness. Welcome to America. A lot of us go through mental illness. A lot of us think about suicidal stuff. That's nothing new here in America, but it's somehow when the Eastern Europeans come over here, or anybody out of different countries come over here, somehow as Americans we feel like to have sympathy for this shit. And we have these problems, the same problems going each and every day, all the time. So when we hear stories like that, everybody want, a good story to win. Especially get somebody like me that speak his mind, that know who he is and know what he stands for and know what he represents. But with Jack Reiss, I feel like that he wanted him to win because of the story. That's why he went off of the spirit and not the rules, of whatever. But it is what it is. I'm happy with myself. I could live with myself knowing that, I knocked him out. I know that for facts. Fury know that. His family knows that. That's why he's doing all these different outside activities. That's why he didn't take the rematch instantly, because I took something out of him. I knocked him on concussion, into a concussion. Seeing him on the floor like that, any ref would have came and waved that off. The way his neck was stretched and his eyes was in the back of his head. But it's only make good meat for the next. It's gonna make good meat into the next time we meet. And that's gonna be the rematch. And I'm gonna prove even more that he should have been counted out. So I'm gonna make sure that damage that I done the first time is gonna be a continuous on the second time, and he really is gonna get hurt.
No, we cannot wait for that rematch versus Tyson Fury next year. Before that, of course, you have the rematch with Luis Ortiz. It's on November 23rd. It's on Fox pay-per-view. You definitely do not want to miss that. Deontay, before I let you go, I have to ask you, can I get a bomb squad?
Bomb squad!
Deontay Wilder, heavyweight champion of the world. Thank you so much for the time, and best of luck in your rematch against Luis Ortiz on November 23rd.
Man, thank you so much, and blessings.
Thank
next
you.
time. Peace.